when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. You gotta sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. You gotta sing when you're winning. Get a goal, it's just the beginning. Sing, sing when you're winning. Everywhere you go.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Sing When You're Winning, a Fantasy Football League oddity podcast featuring distant cousins of podcast royalty and a very special guest this week who we will reveal very shortly. Waiting in line for the podcast throne this week, once again, it's myself, Jamie, we've got Steve and we've got Jersey Chris as well. So hello to everyone, and this week I'm doing this just to pull Steve's leg. But if you remember the FA Cup third round, what's your all-time favourite FA Cup fourth round score? I'm joking. We're not doing that. But as it was the deadline day this week, what's either your favourite deadline day purchase for your own team, or what was the one that was the heartbreaker that made you think, oh, can't believe we sold those, the season's over? Anyone got any deadline day dramas or successes in mind? I mean, essentially, we're talking Leeds United with you two, aren't we? So
yeah, I can't remember any of these because we don't really do any January business.
we always come out with the old, it's a bad time of year to do business, and
the Matt Smith one.
Nobody any goods available in January, and everybody else buys them instead. I do remember in the days before transfer windows when it was really bad if your best player just went mid-season. That was awful.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can remember David Batty leaving it. David Batty left in about September or October or something, and that I was gutted about that. And when we were leaving the ground, he was in the car behind us. I felt like getting out and saying, "What are you doing? You go to Blackburn."
Change all the road signs, so he ends up not finding his destination. I was going to say probably Jordan Rhodes for us. Everyone was dead excited when we finally got Jordan Rhodes, but we got promoted, but it wasn't really because of him, and he was probably one of the worst signings we made in recent memory, to be fair. He scored for everyone else. The one thing for Borough, if you're a goal machine and you sign for Middlesbrough, it's amazing how they dry up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jordan Rhodes was definitely one of those.
I think he was one of those players, Leeds fans were always like, why don't we buy Jordan Rhodes? Because he scores like 40 goals every season, doesn't he? And then he sort of went downhill quite quick, didn't he, at the back end of his career? Is he still playing?
He is still playing, yeah. I'm not sure where. In fact, I think even on the transfer window yesterday, I think his name might have cropped up on the long list of stuff. And I thought, oh, bloody hell, he's still knocking about. But yeah, that's the one that I can think of. Anyways, let's move swiftly on and meet our special guest who can also tell us for their team if there was any deadline day disasters or delights. But yes, this week we are joined by, as described on his very own website, stand-up comedian, presenter, and social media expert. So we're all ears this week and hoping to learn a thing or two to power this podcast into the big time. That's the plan for bringing him on. But he was also, I was interested in this, the first ever host of Joe.co.uk's brand new Football Friday Live, the first made for Facebook Live football show in the UK. So he clearly knows a thing or two about the beautiful game. Let's give a very warm Sing When You're Winning podcast welcome to Jim Daly.
Woo!
Hello.
Hello.
That is the nichest intro I've ever had to any podcast.
Is that nichest or nicest? You might have a lisp or something.
That was Sean Connery saying nicest. First of all, it always pays to lie on your own website. So, social media expert. Don't know if that's true or not, but helps get me work. I could tell you so many stories about the Joe.co.uk show. That was a real interesting time in my life. That was my first ever big presenting gig, and I learned so much about live TV by getting everything wrong. I got every show I'd do something wrong. But I learned a lot, and I got sacked after 4 months on that show, or let go gently. But anyway, learned a lot. So thank you to the Joe guys. It was an experience. Going on to deadline day stuff.
Yeah,
my favorite. You're talking about Leeds. My favorite Leeds deadline day moment was the time when they tweeted, and I can't remember when this was. They tweeted something like, don't go to bed.
Yet.
Yeah.
Stay up, something's happening. And then like 5 minutes later, we're like, oh, we're selling someone. Well, that's it. We're done today, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Matt Smith and Dominic Pollian, wasn't it?
Is that how it was? Oh, it was so good. I was working at the Daily Mirror at the time, and we used to do deadline. We'd stay late and cover deadline days. And I remember that happening. And I just remember the Leeds fans online, whatever the online version of rioting is. I mean, you would be livid. You would be, because your club has just trolled you there essentially in front of everyone.
It gets quoted every year, every transfer deadline day, final day. It always comes up.
And didn't the Leeds captain or one of the players quote tweeted it and was like,
Jason Pearce did,
really...
didn't he? Yeah, Jason Pearce.
Oh man,
amazing.
So anyway,
amazing.
I'm a Palace fan, so Palace related. We haven't had anything quite that dramatic, but I'd say the most memorable one is when we signed Mamadou Sakho on loan from Liverpool, 2017, I think it was, because we were playing away at Bournemouth, and I went with my dad, and we won 2-0. And it was literally after the game, we're walking out looking at our phones, which is a great result on the South Coast. And then they said, and we signed Mamadou Sakho on loan from Liverpool. So it was a fantastic night for us. He went on to be one of the best loan signings we've ever had. He got nominated for Player of the Year after 8 games. Such was his impact.
Wow.
Then we signed him for 30 million in the summer. He got an injury, and I'm doing inverted commas for anyone watching the video, and barely played again. So it's a very Palace signing in general. But yeah, as deadline day goes, deals go, he was a good one.
It was a good one. Sounds good. And you did a deadline day song, didn't you? I saw it on TikTok the other day. I was watching it. That was quite quirky. It was quite good.
Thanks.
So
You're one of the 200 people that saw that. So
not according to your website. There's millions of people watching it according to your website.
Look, you just massage the truth, and to create an image of illusion of success, and people will buy into it. Yeah, I did that song 10 years ago, 2015. So 10 years ago, almost this week, 2015. And my God, have I aged badly in 10 years? That was stark looking at that again. That's pre-kids. And I look, 3 stone lighter and about 10 years happier. That's a joke. But yeah, it's a little sort of start looking to the past. But that's one of my favorite songs because I mostly do parodies, but I wrote that myself, that one. And I'm always quite proud of the ones that I do myself. And it's pretty catchy, I think. But if you want to see how badly I've aged, go to my TikTok and have a look at that.
Yeah. Give that a watch. Definitely.
It's the 40 to 50 that you have to watch. That's 40 to 50 is a bad one.
The 30 to 40 has been... we got married in 2018. So what's that? 7 years ago. My wedding photo. I look like a different man. I look like a different person. I don't know. Like I then ate my best man or something. It's insane. So 30s haven't been great. Yeah, let's see what happens in 40s. I'm not holding my breath.
Still a young pup. Still a young pup in your 30s. So
I'll take that.
But
not though in the world of footballers, as we discussed.
Not in the world of football. Yeah, we were talking before we came on air, weren't we?
I'm officially older than every single Crystal Palace player. And I think that's the first time I've read the oldest player in the squad is Joel Ward, and he's 35, and he's basically considered a geriatric in the eyes of the Palace fans. And I'm 5 years older, so that is a real moment when you realise that all your heroes are younger than you.
It is. Yeah. It's a little bit.
That happened to me 15 years ago.
Well, we were saying before we started recording, it's when you start realizing you're older than managers as well. I think that's the point that you get. Like,
and quite a few chairmen nowadays.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a downward spiral, this aging malarkey. Let's have a look at some of your FPL stats, Jim. Thanks to Statman Steve. This is your 17th FPL season, so you quite like the good old fantasy football league, but it's only your second Sing When You're Winning season. Having said that, you were promoted as a runner-up last season into the championship, and you're currently flying high as manager of odds and ends in the Sing When You're Winning championship, and I'm pretty sure you beat me recently as well, which isn't hard to do. But yeah, how are you finding Sing When You're Winning out being part of this league?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. I feel very shocked to be asked, given the sort of caliber of the people that are involved. But I'm loving it. The banter in the WhatsApp group is absolutely fantastic. Someone doesn't travel each week, and each week I fall for it, but it's very enjoyable. It's great. Really, really enjoying it. And you've caught me at a good time, basically. I didn't really start taking FPL seriously until about 5-6 years ago. But I've since learned I've got a very obsessive personality. So once I started properly getting into it, it's basically taken over my entire life. My wife thinks I got a problem. My argument is there's worse problems to have in the world, worse things to be addicted to. You know, I could be a crack addict or something, you know, and that would probably be with more fun of being a crack addict, I think, actually, but it'd be a lot more expensive, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, this is a lot cheaper. Having said that,
FPL cheaper than crack. I don't know. I don't think I'll use that on the TikTok bit.
Each week I do. There's always someone each week that you need to bench or that you didn't go for or whatever, and nearly always they end up doing better than my actual team. So I've now started placing bets on, and this is why I think I've got a problem. Placing bets on the players I either benched or didn't play, so that if they do well, I get the emotional insurance of winning 15, 20 quid. Alongside,
genius. I might start doing that.
I've done that in the past when we've been trying to get promoted against another team. I've bet on the other team to win every week. So worst, you know what I mean? It's that kind of balance that if they did win, then I'm getting something out of it as well as being annoyed that
it's emotional insurance.
Yeah,
the other day I had to bench Morgan Rogers and then Hazard. I also do the Sun Dream Team as well, because again I can't say no to any fantasy football, and I'm in a league of my personal trainer. It just means that every week when he trains me I can distract him by talking about fantasy football. So it works out. It's a waste of money, but it works out. But yes, I did a double on Rodgers and Havertz to score, and Rodgers scored in like the early game or something, and then Havertz scored against Crystal Palace at Selhurst, and we lost 5-1. But I was secretly like pumping my fist, like, well, that's 70 quid in my back pocket, so I'll take that. We were never going to beat Arsenal anyway, so that's absolutely great. But yeah, so I'm obsessed with FPL, and that's basically why I've started to do well in the last few seasons, because I just consume all information, and all my spare time is taken up looking at stats and figures and stuff, and that's basically how you do well at FPL. Is if you basically make it your entire personality and commit all your spare time to it, ignore your 2 children, get on the verge of divorce, you will do well at FPL. So it's a decent payoff, I think.
Oh, without a doubt.
I do all that, but without the results.
Brilliant. Excuse me. Right. We're mid game week as it stands, so we're still in game week 24, which arguably could be the longest game week of all time. But shall we have a look at who's doing particularly well? And lots of people are scoring high 90s, over 100. And also, are there any who are doing particularly badly? Steve, is there any notable achievements?
Scoot through the results, which I hastily arranged just before this. In the Conference League, Vicky Sparks has got 103 already, and she's got six left to play.
Wow.
Natalie Pike's got 91. Neil Robertson's got 92, and they've both got 5 and 6 to play left yet anyway. Becky Bass, who's struggling in the league, has got 99, so she's almost there. Sophie Ridge has got 102. Wow. And into the League One there, 91 for Anton, and 90 for Nathan Clark, and 102 for Jamie, who's top. Jamie's like the Jim of League One.
He is.
And in the
I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult to him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jamie.
In the Championship, Nicola, my wife, has got 114 points.
Wow.
This is a painful time to be in my house. She keeps asking me to look at what her world rank is. And Rich Lay's got 110. Anybody else there? And Jamie, you're nearly there, 93. And Lee's got a 94, so you're definitely going to crack 100, aren't you?
Yeah.
And in the top flight, how many have you got, Jim? Where are you? Okay, fine. Oh, Jim, 90. You've got 90 with 5 left to play, and you're quite well 20 points in front, so there should be another win for you there. And in the Premier League, 110 for Leon.
Well.
And 106 for Chris Payne, who's beating Adam, who's got 94. But Leon's got 110, and he's playing Nick in the cup, so he's currently losing on 110.
Wow. Yeah, I worked out, I think, my league game already on unless Robertson scores lots of own goals and gets sent off.
But there's so many variables, isn't there?
But yeah, but in the cup, I'm going to get knocked out by Ed's Chester because he's flying. So my cup exit's pretty much sorted already.
Well, that'll be fun because without giving too much away, Ed's is the guest next week.
Yeah. No, exactly. so that'll be good. We can talk about successes in the cup.
One of the worst scores is Mark Summerton, who's flying high and has been top of the Premier League all season. He's only got 67.
What? Is he not? Captain Salah.
I think he's around the worst score. Phil Pinder's got a 50. I don't know who he's got in his team. Jonas has got 35 points.
I don't see how that's possible.
That's actually quite impressive. That's more impressive than getting 114.
It is
35. I'm going to have to look at what his team is now. That's terrible.
Yeah,
his captain was Isak.
That is.
We'll blame those twins he's got, shall we?
Yeah. Well, he said he was going to be on the up, didn't he? But I'm just having a look at who is in his team this week, if it'll allow me.
Salah was. I'm going to assume everyone that's got big scores has triple captained Salah and got Chris Wood. Basically.
Yeah. Captain Chris Wood.
Yeah, Jonas, he's having the worst week ever. Sorry, he triple captained Isak according to this.
Oh,
wow! And Isak scored 6 points. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
Oh wow!
He's got Becker in goal with 9 points, doing a hell of a lot of heavy lifting. He's got Haaland and Palmer, but the rest of them have got 0s, 2s, 1s. So yeah. 35 when you've used your triple captain as well.
I wonder if that's like a finger slip. Do we think that's like?
Do you think he'd noticed that Salah had 2 games?
Yeah, I think that maybe.
He's not got Salah in his team, to be fair.
Oh, has he got any Liverpool players?
He's got Becker, who he could have triple captained because he's on 9 and he'd be getting a damn sight better out of it. But yeah, that's an interesting team selection.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to come on there and be rude, but yes, it is terrible.
Yeah, we don't want to pick on managers, but
hey, we've all had weeks like that. We can all relate to weeks where it's just not gone right.
It's just not normally in a week when everyone else is getting 100.
No, and this is why I do quite well, because I am a very conservative FPL player, and I will pick the obvious picks and I will do the obvious chips. And my theory being that if you do that for most of the season, something like 50 or 60% of the people that play in the game drop off by now post-Christmas and stop playing. So if you just keep playing and you pick the obvious pick and you pick 1 or 2 sexy differentials in there, you can pretty much keep up with the pack. And then you might have to be a bit more adventurous in the final few months of the season. It's quite boring, but that's basically the way to sort of stay in it.
Yeah. I heard somebody the other day say the first half of the season was all about picking the best players and the second half was having the... navigating all the different double game weeks and blank weeks and your chip strategy, really. Yeah. So if anyone's kind of not on the ball with it, that's where you're going to pick up your points, isn't it? So
yeah, it's pretty dull. But...
Talking of the chips, I was in trouble last week for not talking about the assman chip. So let's. A few people have played that.
It took me ages to work out what people were talking about when they were saying assman. Like, is this some sort of inside FPL joke I hadn't heard about? Oh yeah, it's just a manager. Sorry, it took me ages to work that one out.
Be forever known as #assman. That's what it is. But yeah, have a few people played the assman this week? I think they have, haven't they?
Yeah,
I have.
Yeah, my friend
you played yours. Any reason why you went for it, Jim?
People are getting like 10, 12 points out of it out there for last week. I think my opponent, I've got Paul and he's got Moyes, I think, and he's getting 10 points so far for Moyes.
Yeah. I went slot again. It's quite a dull move, but it just felt like if I just do the assman chip, I can get 5 games in 3 game weeks rather than, well, I guess you get 3 in 1. Well, you get 2 in 1 if you do the double. It was much for muchness to triple captain, and I think actually it will end up at the end of the game week being roughly even. Like, I know Salah's kind of ahead in terms of triple captaining, but yeah, it probably will be much of a muchness. I really wasn't sure what the assman chip. Now I'm calling it the assman chip, like I know what I'm talking about. I've become an FPL expert. I have to admit, I was going to avoid it because I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to let everyone else play it and see how it played out. But
Yeah,
then
I
when the
did.
double game was announced, and everyone's going crazy, and I follow so many content creators.
Which was very late, wasn't it? It was like Friday afternoon or something they announced it.
Yeah, but which is another example of why you like leave your transfers till late in the week. I know there's price changes, but like they like to drop these bombs on us sometimes. So
Yeah,
just like
True.
holding off. And so I've sort of gone for it a little bit. I think it's hopefully pay off. But again, it's not an exciting move. I'm not an exciting person, guys. I'm just quite a dull individual. So, and this is played out in my FPL approach.
Well, I'm envious of you at the top of the championship. Put it this way, so they could happily swap.
untouchable, isn't it? You've been there all
yeah.
season, haven't you, Jim? I
He's
think pretty
flying
much.
high. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there's no Premier League games this coming weekend. So this Friday morning, let's look ahead to the FA Cup. And as Leeds are still in the competition, Leeds Millwall, what do we think this Saturday lunchtime?
I don't know, probably lots of bottle throwing and windows getting smashed.
And as a Leeds fan, you can say that.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would
But
say
yeah, what
just
do you
rest
think?
our players. Yeah, rest the players. Let's get knocked out and then concentrate next week. Back to the league.
Yeah, so
I
you're not
think we'll
bothered.
get beat. I think we'll get beat. No, yeah.
At home, though, I wouldn't
To
expect
Millwall.
it. To. If it was at Millwall, maybe, but at home, Elland Road,
Yeah, depends. We'll probably play a few of our subs and stuff, but I don't think we'll win anyway. I think we'll 2-0 that one or something.
2-0. Okay.
I've just
Maybe we'll
Googled.
Get Man City in the next round. Are they in it? Are they still in it, Man City?
They are.
Man United. Man United would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Might get a result.
My first thought as well, Steve, was of violence. But if you Google it, the top result is Wikipedia Leeds Millwall rivalry. It's got its own entry on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think that Millwall probably have that with most football clubs. But yeah, I did think, I wonder if Leeds Millwall was a rivalry. It just at the back of my mind is a memory but clearly it is. Yeah, it's been some decent.
I think it's more of a mid-80s rivalry. Mid-80s.
I wonder if that's
violence.
why it's a lunchtime kickoff. The police have probably said, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Get it done. Get it out of the way as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So, but moving on to other games, Birmingham Newcastle, I think is quite an interesting one given the season Birmingham are having and they're at home. Newcastle will be coming off the back of potentially, I mean, this Friday morning, we all know whether Newcastle are in the Carabao Cup final or not. But how bothered are they going to be about Birmingham away?
I kind of think Newcastle probably play a strong team for that, won't they?
You'd have thought
they're going to be going for competitions on all fronts.
Yeah.
I think that will be a draw.
Who's going to win on penalties?
Birmingham are flying in League One, aren't they? So
they are flying. Yeah, but I've seen them play a few times. They're better than who they're playing, but I don't think they're particularly amazing stuff. So I don't know. Yeah. They've got the home advantage, though. Be interesting to see. I fancy Newcastle to win. You're going to go for a Birmingham win.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I'm going to be Ryan Reynolds will be there, and Anton Deck will be there, and
Ryan Reynolds is at Wrexham. Why would he be at Birmingham?
Tom Brady. Yeah, what?
Oh yeah, sorry, it's Wrexham, isn't he? Who's the Birmingham guy? Who's the Birmingham guy?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Beckham goes along and watches them a lot, and all these big pals. So Beckham goes to watch Birmingham a few times.
Have you been? To be fair, have you been keeping up with Ryan Reynolds? There's a whole Blake Lively. Have you been seeing this whole thing?
I've seen bits of it.
I don't have to edit this thing more than I need to.
Sorry, no. Sorry, I don't want to libel Hollywood stars. There is controversy. Let's just put it that way. So he might have his thoughts elsewhere. Ryan Reynolds. I think this would be. I'm just on Soccer Base to see like what Newcastle have done in previous rounds of the Cup, of the League Cup, and they go pretty strong. Isak,
I think they do. Yeah.
Gordon. So I think they'll go strong. So I think they probably will edge it, but I think Birmingham will give them a good. Feels like a throwback fixture, doesn't it? Feels like a mid-2000s Premier League fixture. I can just imagine like Emil Heskey up front for Birmingham, Clinton Morrison coming off the bench, and Christophe Dugarry being shit. I don't know. So yeah, a bit of a throwback, much like Liverpool Forest. You know, when Forest came back up, was like a 90s throwback. This was like a mid-2000s throwback. So hopefully, be a good game.
David
Slightly
Dunn
less
doing some
exciting.
skills.
David Dunn falling over in the middle
Yeah.
of the pitch.
I was going to say this mid-noughties throwback is far less sexy than the mid-90s throwback.
Yeah, true.
Birmingham against Newcastle. Mid-noughties, I don't think I'd have paid to watch that game. Right, let's go Plymouth-Liverpool.
That's going to be a nightmare,
it's
isn't
gonna
it, for
be-
Plymouth? It's going
I
to be
think-
like
yeah.
5+ nil, isn't it? Even if they're Rezzies.
Yeah.
Poor
I
Plymouth.
think Liverpool will win them ragged.
But Plymouth, who did Plymouth beat? They beat Brentford, didn't they? In the
They did, but we've now signed the player who scored the wonder goal, so he's not around.
yeah, I mean Liverpool going to win. Liverpool win definitely. It depends what team
Yeah.
they put. Liverpool will put a reserve team out. Like that is
They will.
definitely.
Hopefully, Quansah will get a game because I don't want him to play in the next league game.
What? Because you Canate or something.
I've got Nico Williams as my first sub, so if Quansah doesn't play, then
Oh,
Nico
right.
Williams plays, and suddenly game on.
It's amazing how FPL makes you care about these little moments in other games that you would never even consider at some point. But now you're desperate for Gerald Quansah not to get minutes. He'll come on in the last minute.
He will. He'll
get
come
1
on
point.
just to kill me. Yeah, they'll just give him a quick run to waste a bit of time or something. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, these managers do it to piss us off. That's what they do. Right. So those are the 3 games from this weekend's FA Cup anyway. So let's have a bit more of a chat with you now, Jim. And we always ask everyone who comes on the pod, why do you support the club you do? So why Crystal Palace?
I was given no choice. My dad's a Palace fan, and once I started showing an interest in football at the age of about 7 or 8, quite a late bloomer actually into football, he gave me 2 choices. He said, you can support Crystal Palace or you can get the hell out of my house. And that was, and I genuinely weighed up both options, but didn't quite have the pocket money to rent a flat in deepest, darkest Kent at the time. So it was Palace for me, and that's been it. And to be honest, it's been a hell of a journey. Like in the 30 or so years I've supported them, they've nearly gone out of business twice. Genuinely twice I've had to think about who am I going to support if they get liquidated, which is a mad thing to think. They spelt their own name wrong on their badge at one point. They've been relegated the most times in the Premier League, or certainly were at one point. And now they're an established Premier League team who are getting into their 13th season in the Premier League, which is mad for anyone that supported them in the 90s or 2000s, or going back further, my dad's time, 70s, 80s, 60s. So yeah, it was Palace or bust really, and I've been a Palace fan for 33 years, and that's it. Sorry, I wish there was a more exciting story.
So you would have.
It was basically child
been,
abuse, essentially child abuse in the early 90s.
You'd have been too young for the 1990 FA Cup final then.
I was 5,
yeah.
and we were living in Spain at the time. So my dad had a job. My dad's been a chartered accountant all his life, and he had a job for a construction firm called Balfour Beatty. No idea if they're still going. And they used to do constructions of big projects around the world. And so Dad would have to go and be on site and be the finance director on site. So the first year of my life, we lived in Dubai when it was a desert, while they were working on a project. Then we moved to Malaysia, and we lived in Malaysia for a year. So I'm like 1 at this point. My dad accidentally insulted the Crown Prince of Malaysia, so we got asked to leave the country after a year. And then we moved to Spain for 3 years, and we lived in south of Spain. Until I was 6, I think. But my dad flew back for the final. He didn't fly back. The semi-final against Liverpool was like one of the all-time semis in the FA Cup.
Yeah,
4-3 Palace, Pardew in extra time. That is the one that all the fans when I was growing up, who were like 5-10 years older, all went to that game and talked about it. And I wished I was 10 years older and I've got to experience Ian Wright and Mark Bright and that rise through the up to the top flight and the cup run in 1990. But my dad went back for the cup final in 1990, and he went with his best mate Leonard, who's Spanish, and they still sit together at Sellers now. And they sat together at Sellers for a long time. Leonard's now, my dad's 77 and Leonard's 84, 85. He actually rang me today because I'm trying to sort him a ticket for a game. Lovely bloke. And I sit behind them in the main stand. So the 3 of us sit. It's the worst stand at Sellers. It's got no leg room. It's appalling. It was built in 1924 when people, I'm guessing, were 2 foot smaller. And it is an absolute nightmare. I get to see my dad every couple of weeks and catch up with him and Leonard. And going back to the anecdote, he's the reason I'm a Palace fan, and so it's nice that that's my strongest connection to the club. I basically get to see Dad every couple of weeks and catch up, and that's. I mean, it's not why I go. Obviously, I go to be let down and disappointed every couple of weeks, but he's the reason I'm a Palace fan, so that link will always be there for me.
Yeah,
Awesome.
nice.
Oh, that's brilliant. And what are your highs and lows of supporting them? What's your highest of highs and what's your lowest of
Oh
lows?
my god, I got more lows. I can rattle off the highs really quickly. Any playoff final win. I've been so lucky. I think we got the record of most playoff final wins, I think, from the second tier. But I was there in 1997 when David Hopkins scored in the last minute against Sheffield United. My memory of that game at the old Wembley, my memory of that game is that we were sat, again with Leonard, me, Dad, Leonard, and my brother Sebastian. We were sat right behind the goal that he scored, and my memory is I was like first out of my seat as it flew in. It's from like 25 yards out.
Yeah.
Subsequently, every Palace fan I've spoken to claims that they were right behind the goal when they were the first one out of their seat when they went in, which is obviously physically impossible. So I haven't actually asked my dad about that, whether we were or not. And then I was there in 2004 when we beat West Ham at Cardiff, which was massively against the odds. West Ham were wearing warm-up T-shirts saying one more go, one more step or something. And the Palace players, I think they'd all got like limos to Cardiff, and the Palace players all turned up in like a rickety old team bus with like 10-year-old training kit, and we still beat them 1-0. It's fantastic, proper underdog victory. And then I was at the new Wembley in 2013 when Kevin Phillips scored a penalty against Watford. Oh, no, sorry, it was against Watford. Yeah, his former club. To take us, 12 years ago. And we haven't been back since, which is mad. So lots of playoff memories. The lows, oh my god, multiple relegations. Finding out the club was going into liquidation on my birthday in 2010, so that was a great birthday. And I had to spend my birthday. There was a protest at Selhurst, so I had to go to Selhurst, and there was like a couple of thousand fans there, a couple of thousand fans up in town, up in London, outside the offices of the bank that owned Palace at the time, who were about to put them into liquidation. And by all accounts, that I mean, there's been a documentary about it. That moment helped. There were basically finance guys who don't understand football looking out the window going, oh my god, there's like 1,000 hooligans on the street, just do the deal. Just do the deal. Which proves that fan pressure can actually make a difference. Going down at Charlton in 2005 on the last day of the Premier League season, when all we had to do was cling on to a win, and Michele Ledgerwood gave away a free kick and Charlton scored from the subsequent free kick. And I've then recently started playing football against him in a St Albans Veterans 5-a-side league. And I've resisted the urge to say that you were the reason we went down. He's actually a very nice guy. He's actually a very good footballer, as you can imagine. You cannot tackle him, and he's super lovely. So my word, plenty of lows. You almost got... in the first 10 years of sport, and 10, 15 years, I just got used to relegation. Like, you just got used to the fact you're going to go up, you're going to give it a go and go down again. I remember when we went down in 1998, which was a real seminal year. I was like 13, 14, just becoming obsessed with Palace. And we went down. We had, up at Christmas, we had the best away record in the league. We'd like won away at Everton on the opening day, won away at Leeds. We had a great away record, but we had the worst home record, and we hadn't won. And in fact, we didn't actually win at home until April, our penultimate game of the season. So by then, we were long relegated. And they were like putting the players in hotels for 4 games. They were like trying so many psychological things to make them think it's an away game. They couldn't crack this weird away game, brilliant, home game, terrible. And we went down. We beat Sheffield Wednesday, last game of the season, 1-0. So second home win all season. Clinton Morrison scored, coming off the bench with his first touch. He then went on to be a Palace legend, score over 100 goals. And I got a vivid memory of Palace fans in the Homesdale, so I was sat at the other end in the White Horse, doing the conga. And we were like relegated, one of the worst teams ever in Premier League football, and they were doing the conga around the Homesdale. I remember thinking, that's what fans do. That's being a football fan, finding the humour in kind of in the bad moments. So yeah, plenty of that being a Palace fan. And to be honest, just enjoying now being an established Premier League club. It's mad to me that there'll be Palace in their late teens, early 20s who won't even know Palace as a championship club, which blows my mind. They'll only know us as a Premier League club, and good on them, and hopefully it continues, because it's a great time to be a Palace fan. We'll probably go out of business again within 10 years.
Well, you've become a decent Premier League club as well. In recent seasons, you're You're tough to beat. You're well organised. You're definitely. I don't know. I don't think any side, certainly Man City, don't particularly like playing Palace, do they?
You just had a bad start this season, didn't you? Finished last season really well, didn't you? Then had a terrible start this season. Now you kind of leveled it out again, haven't you? Really picked up.
Yeah. So last season we hugely overperformed towards the end of the season. I mean, we were pitching Champions League returns. I mean, it was insane. And then we sold Michael Elise to Bayern Munich. Again, a sentence that sounds very strange coming out of my mouth as a Palace fan. But I mean, he's the only player I've seen in 33 years, and probably the only one I'll ever see that I'm fairly confident has got a very good chance of winning the Ballon d'Or. And that is mad to say as a Palace fan, but I don't think it's unfair given his ability. And he's completely hit the ground running at Bayern as well, and he's just an unreal talent. But they couldn't. I mean, you can't replace him. You literally can't replace a player like that. And so we started the season. We didn't really recruit very well. We are very conservative in the transfer market as a whole. And so we struggled. And then we had a game against Fulham where we lost 2-0 at home, where we were absolutely awful. They actually scored 4 goals and 2 were disallowed by VAR, but it could have easily been 4-0. And then 2 weeks later, we played Newcastle at home, and we were actually very good, but we were 1-0 down. And then Daniel Munoz scored a header in the 95th minute, and it completely changed the mood of the entire season. Oliver Glasner ran down the touchline and celebrated almost in the fans and got booked for it. And from then on, I think we've lost 2 and 15 or something insane. We've had a fantastic run. The mood has changed completely. The confidence has seeped into the players, and they're a very good team. There's some excellent players in there.
Mateta's doing really well, isn't he?
The journey of Philippe Mateta could genuinely be like a Hollywood story, because he was, and I think it's not unfair to say this, utter dog shit when he first signed for us. He was. His debut was away at Brighton at the end of the COVID season, and he scored a back heel nutmeg where he nutmegged the goalkeeper and a defender with his first touch, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, we've signed the next Messiah." It was instantly Palace hero for scoring against Brighton, instantly Palace cult hero for scoring a goal back heel that nutmegs 2 players. And then he spent the next 18 months looking like someone that won a competition to play in the first team. He was appalling. And I think he just benefited. I think it was just settling into new league. He come from the Bundesliga, and he just benefited from having a really, really great debut. And he was supposed to leave, and he was being linked for moves back to Germany and blah, 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 and back to France. And he stayed. And right at the end, he had a cut under Vieira. He had a really good sort of 4 months where suddenly he looked quite good. And then he dropped off, and Edouard went back again up front. And then towards the end of Roy Hodgson's 400th stint as manager, most recent one, he suddenly started to get it together. And I can't remember what it was or what the moment was, but it clicked for him. And the goals started coming. He looked more confident. He started actually playing he's a big guy. Well, I don't think I saw him head the ball in the first 2 years of playing for us, but he suddenly started to work out how to use his physicality. And then brilliant towards the end of last season, and this season he's just been fantastic. I mean, his numbers are brilliant. He's such a character, and again, I think that's a very Palace thing. I think we thrive on sort of big character. You think of Ian Wright back in the day, and I think we like big characters at Palace. Wilfried Zaha, another great example, and JP is finally becoming the player that he thinks he is, which is a compliment, and he's just a pleasure to watch, a cult hero, and it's great to see him banging in the goals. His best moment this season was at home to someone, maybe the Fulham game, where we were really struggling, and the fans were singing "shit referee," and JP at that point decided that was the moment to try and G up the fans. So it's like he was going, "Yeah, shit referee, more of that, guys," and that's just what he does. He's a bit of a shithouse, but yeah, he is absolutely fantastic, and long may it continue, because he's flying.
Good stuff. Well, we have, I know you said you don't listen a lot to the pod, so you might not be familiar, but we have homework for the panel each week to come up with, do some research. Now, Lee, who is the class SWAT, he's not here this week, so he'd have had a really well researched and thoroughly worked out question. He's not here, so I don't know what you're going to get from us. But yeah, the first question I'm going to ask you, and just roll with it, is which song would you pick as the walk-on music for Odds on Ends?
Oh my word! Well, much like being at school, I haven't done my homework, so this is very much sort of in my wheelhouse. I have to admit, I'm not happy with my team name this year. I don't think it's my best. It's my best F. I always try and do a team name that because you see those articles online, the 100 best FPL team. I try and avoid those and do like my own one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a comedian thing. Like I was told very early in my career, you never take someone else's material. You only do your own jokes, even if they're terrible jokes. You only do your own stuff. So I always try to do my own one. The best one I had was a couple of years ago when I had my best ever season. So I was very proud of. We just signed Mark Gay from Chelsea. So I went with Gay's Anatomy, which I was very proud of.
Very good.
But I've struggled ever since. I think I was like Hakuna Matata last season, which is so it's okay. So Odds on Ends, it's not the best. But what would the walk-on music be?
What walk-on music? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It would have to be something. I'll tell you what it'd be. It would be the full 10-minute version of Bat Out of Hell by Milo, and I'd make them play the full version. That's what it'd be.
I think that could work. Yeah, I wouldn't tire of that every match.
The intro alone is 3 minutes long. But
Exactly.
It's just, that definitely.
The PA announcer could do a bit of talking over the top of that bit. It'd be good. It would work.
Last week, Tom was suggesting that the FPL page should have your walk-on music on your page when you're picking your team and stuff like that. Or if anybody looked at your team, then they'd get that kind of welcome.
Yeah,
I'd imagine the copyright is probably an issue, but that to one side, that's a great idea.
Yeah. No, it would be good. Now, the other question I've got quickly is building on the lies on your website. So you've got 350,000 followers, 200 million views. Where are we going wrong?
We're not lying enough.
Firstly, you're not lying enough. I've been doing what I do for such a long time. 2011 was the first time I uploaded a video to YouTube, so that's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just consistent. It's just consistency. And in fact, recently my views have really dropped off. Ironically, since 2019 when we had our first kid, it turns out that they're quite time-consuming children. So I haven't quite had the time to make videos, and my views have dropped off. But when I was really flying, I was just doing videos every day, and it's just consistency. I think the podcast space is a really difficult one. It's so saturated at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's just.
FPL podcasts everywhere. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
is just targeting our league, isn't it?
It is.
I think you could libel more people, and then you'll get the PR. It'd be bad PR, but no PR is bad PR.
We'll just get you on more often, Jim.
Yeah.
And I'll just libel various Hollywood. I'll just call Elon Musk. Elon Musk. I don't know what that is. That's his Russian cousin. I'll call it.
Well,
Elon
if we
Musk
call him that, I can't libel.
Call him that. Yeah, exactly. So what were you going to say about Elon Musk?
I'll do whatever you want to boost the profile of the podcast. I don't care.
Brilliant. Anyway, sorry, moving swiftly on. So homework time. So Steve, Chris, have you done your homework? Have you got a question?
No, not really. But seeing as last time we had a comedian on was Paul Tonkinson, so I'll ask you the same question, and that was, what is your worst or best heckle that you've received?
Oh man, Paul's a legend, by the way. I was very excited when he was joined to the group. The imposter syndrome was strong in me that day. What's the best? Do you know what? I actually don't get that many heckles, and I don't know if it's because since I started doing comedy, I think the whole mood of live comedy has changed a bit, and we've moved away from like 80s and 90s and 70s sort of comedy where, I don't know, the heckles were strong, I guess. I really don't tend to get many. The only time I really get heckles is if I say something stupid and then someone picks me up on it. Like the other day I was doing a gig, and again, we had a bad night with the kids, and I kept saying about it was great, everyone's out on a Friday night. And after about 5 times saying that, someone went, "It's Thursday." And I was like, oh, God. So it's more that kind of stuff, really. But I think it's because I come on stage and I'm quite sort of like friendly and jovial, and I'm not like I'm not a ranting and raving comedian. Again, I think there's fewer of them these days anyway. And so I think if you go on with a nice sort of calm attitude, mostly people. I've had some gigs where people like the worst heckle is silence. is that you know, when you get
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you take a groan to a joke over nothing. I did have one once where I was actually gigging with Milton Jones, and I'd gone on before him, and
He's really funny. I've seen him.
He's so good.
Jones.
I mean, he is
so sharp. Yeah.
Real. So it's just like, you know, one-liner after one-liner, and one-liners are hard. But if you're one-liner is the sort of thing where when it's good, it's really smooth. You don't notice. When it's bad, it's like being punched in the face every 30 seconds, and it feels like you're on there forever. But I did this gig, and like I started off well, and I just sort of lost them throughout the middle, which happens sometimes. And I heard these two guys around the front, and one guy turned to his mate and went, "He's bombing." And it wasn't even a heckle, but I heard it, and it was like a little gut punch. It was horrible, but he was right. So that was a real learning moment, and I had to go back to the dressing room, and Milton Jones go, "Oh, well done." I'm thinking, "No, you don't mean that. It was terrible." But that's comedy. It's up and down, and you live and learn. And as I've got older, and it's like post kids, and I think since turning 40, I keep telling myself this. It might not be true. It might be me trying to convince myself, but I feel like I just don't really care anymore. And if I go and have a good gig, great. And if I have a bad gig, well, I've got out the house and I've been paid 100 quid or you know, whatever it is. And so it's more, I don't know. And I'm trying to apply that to social media as well. Where like, we're just living our lives, guys. And if we get through each day, we've done well. And so I'm trying to take pressure off, really. But I do think that's an age thing as well. It's just easier to not care. The only thing I care about is FPL.
Yeah. Exactly. Get your priorities straight, and you'll be top of the championship like you are now.
I can still do that in the care home.
Exactly. As long as the Wi-Fi is good, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Chris, what's your question?
Yeah, so when you are touring, is there any sort of towns or cities you're just like, no, I don't want to go there. They're tough people.
Leeds.
No, so I haven't Leeds. Middle. No, I haven't toured much. I'm actually planning my first proper tour probably for next year. So I haven't done many tours, but when I did my Edinburgh show, I did do a lot of previews, and that essentially became a sort of mini tour. I do find I probably do better on down south, south coast. I don't do better. I do it. Over my career, I've done a lot of like West Country gigs. I've done a lot. I've been to Minehead more times than anyone that actually is obsessed with Butlins. And they're okay, but I do find I'm quite a London-centric comedian. I think the further you get out of town, I do think it's sometimes harder to. Having said that, some of my best gigs have been miles away from London. You have to be really careful. I made the mistake once at one gig of sort of inadvertently insulting the audience in like my first 10 seconds. I can't remember what it was, but I said something about the local area and I got it wrong. And so that was a tough gig. And I want to say that was like Staffordshire or someone like that. But no, to be honest, I don't, there's no one area that tends to, is off my list. But talk to me next year after my tour.
Is there any comedians that you've seen on TV and you're just like, how have they got that job there? Why am I not on one of the panelist shows?
Officially, no.
Right, okay.
Off air. No, to be honest, if you've made it on TV, then you've almost certainly been gigging for such a long time. No one on TV is on there in 5 minutes. They've all been gigging, and they've all done the shittest gigs you can imagine to get there. And so most of them deserve it, to be honest. Like, there's quite a few. There's sometimes the people on the circuit, I think, hang on, I gigged with you 5 years ago and you were terrible, and now you're like playing the Comedy Store or something. But again, in that 5 years, they've probably got really good. Whereas I've been at home making stupid videos on the internet. So there's no one that ever reaches a high level is there by chance or by luck, really. Like they've all had to plug away. I think the mistake some comedians make is assuming someone that does something different to them is worse or isn't as good. And that's not the case. Like, you might be someone that's really good at one-liners and you see a musical comedian, you think, well, I hate musical comedy. Why are they not up there? Well, this person might be really good at musical comedy. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not very good, and vice versa with one-liners or storytelling. Or when I started out, clowning was the big thing. And so people would go on stage and they would like chuck fruit around and like shout at the audience and like pour fake blood over the and I was like, okay, that's not really comedy. To me, comedy is like telling jokes. But some of them got huge off the back of it, and it's just different styles. People have different styles, and some audiences loved it, and that's just you can't dictate what people like. So, also, I haven't said that the TV gigs are drying up. It is getting a lot harder to get on TV now, and actually, I've seen a lot of people who have made it onto TV or sort of digital equivalent who have done it the social media route, and that's changed in the last 5 years. When I started out, it was very much like you do the shit gigs, you work up through the circuit, you do the comedy store, you get an agent, then you get on TV. Now you can build up an audience and tour, which is what I'm trying to do off the back of a social media following. It's very different. It's completely changed post-COVID, I think, as well. So anyway, sorry, long-winded answer to say no.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you. So yeah, that's the homework questions out of the way. We're going to move on to ask you some football questions now. Sing when you're winning superfan. Now, each week we test our guests' footballing knowledge, see how many questions they can get correct in 90 seconds. Now, the score to beat is 6. There's a number of people who've hit 6. If you score more than 6, you will go to the top of the tree. Now, I have a feeling you might be quite good at this with your.
I do love a quiz. I am a big nerd.
Yeah, and your football knowledge. We do use ChatGPT. So if it throws up something that's absolute nonsense, then we'll stop the clock or we'll sort it out.
If there's a question about Mourinho, I'll assume it's wrong.
Yes, well, I can hunt that one out in advance if it does appear again. But yes, Steve will be our timer as usual. 90 seconds.
Don't ponder, Jim. Don't ponder. That's the tip.
There's too many people pondering of late. There are. If you don't know it, you've got a brain fog. Just pass.
Yeah. It took Chesney about a minute. Chesney took about a minute to answer his first question, and then he was doomed after that.
He was. He was.
Okay. Thank you for the tip.
So yeah, after 90 seconds, we will shout out something topical that will alert the fact that your time is up. If I've started, I will finish in the mastermind standard. And Chris, it's your job this week to have your fingers in the air and do the scoring. Let's see there. So yeah, the 90 seconds will start when I ask the first question. As I said, if ChatGPT comes up with some garbage, then we'll work with it and then do a good edit, to be fair. Are you ready?
Yes. Never been more ready.
Good. Question number 1. Which manager won the most Premier League Manager of the Year awards?
Sir Alex Ferguson.
It was. Who was the first English player to play for Real Madrid?
Laurie Cunningham.
It was Laurie Cunningham. Which English player holds the record for most goals in a single Premier League season for a club?
Alan Shearer.
Mo Salah, according to this. Which English club won the UEFA Champions League in 2012?
English club, UEFA Champions League in 2012. Oh, I'm getting a mind blank. So I'll just say Man United.
It was Chelsea, beat Bayern Munich. Which player has the most Premier League assists?
Kevin De Bruyne.
Ryan Giggs, apparently. There's that Jose Mourinho question. Which club became the first to finish a Premier League season unbeaten?
Arsenal.
Yes. Who holds the record for most goals scored in a single Premier League match?
Jermaine Defoe.
Yes. Who scored the first goal in the Premier League's history?
Brian Deane.
Yes. Which English club became the first to win the treble?
Man United.
Yes. Which English club won the first ever Premier League title?
Utter dog shit.
Yes, that's the right answer as well.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, which English club won the first ever Premier League title?
Man United.
Yeah, I don't know why there was 2 Man Uniteds back to back there, but there were.
Well, I think this is a record, isn't it? It's going to be a top score.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave it to the official scorer to tell us.
Yeah, Jim scored 7.
Oh,
7. Wow, I thought you'd scored 6, so I clearly got that wrong as I was going through. So you've
I
gone top.
wobbled in the middle, didn't I? The pressure got to me. I had
Yeah,
a sort of mid-season wobble.
I
but
mean, I
recovered.
have a feeling I can guess which person scored 6 previously. He'll be a bit annoyed that you've got. He'll say you've had some easy questions, but I think you had some stinkers in there too.
They were. Some of them were very easy. The Chelsea
Laurie
one, I knew
Cunningham
that.
one. I was very impressed with that one.
yeah.
So Laurie, there's a story behind that. Laurie Cunningham, I know that because I found I was about 8 years ago. I was very ill from work one day, and I was at home watching random YouTube videos, and one of them was a documentary or a clip from a documentary about Laurie Cunningham, and it had Ian Wright and a couple of other players talking about the impact he had for black footballers in the UK, and he's obviously a fantastic talent. And it talked about him going to Real Madrid. And there was a really funny clip where it had Ian Wright and a few other people talking about the impact that Laurie Cunningham had and what a guy he was. And then it cut to Peter Reid, who said, the first time I ever had garlic king prawns was when Laurie Cunningham ordered them. And it was so funny. And so I clicked it. I changed the order to make like the
I thought
impact.
Peter Reid was from Liverpool.
Yeah, so as it turns out, I can't do impressions. So I can't do
Oh,
accents.
like he's from Last of the Summer Wine.
Yeah, that was bad accent. That was bad. It's not-
Carry on.
It's not on my spotlight profile. Anyway, I clipped up this video. I just thought it was funny, and I put it a bit further forward just to set up the impact of him saying it. And I put it on Twitter, and it did an insane amount of like millions and millions of views. It went, loads of people really enjoyed it, which was great. So that's always my memory of Laurie Cunningham. So I know it's probably not a great in terms of the memory of his legacy, but yeah, great player. And
Awesome.
yeah, what was the one about Mo Salah? I misheard that. I think I misheard the question.
It was. Hang on, let me go back. I mean, you did get 7, so you are top of,
Yeah,
everybody. So I wouldn't worry too much.
I thought you might have got Chelsea. I thought you'd have got Chelsea though.
Yeah, I
I
thought you might get
really
Chelsea.
panicked. I panicked in that, and I just and of
Which
course
it
Jim
was-
said it. Yeah,
It was which English player? Actually, that's a point. That's a garbage question. Which English player holds the record?
yeah,
most
that threw me.
times
That's
not
why I said
English?
share.
Yeah.
That's your ChatGPT guy. I guess it's
ChatGPT,
which player in an English league, possibly. But yeah,
I probably
you
still
got-
wouldn't.
you
I
got
wouldn't have gone
7.
Salah then. I probably still would have gone Shearer anyway.
But
so.
yeah, you're right. The way that question was written is very bad. But that is ChatGPT.
There
But
you
you
go.
are the Magnificent 7. I
I'll take
doubt
it.
I don't think anyone will get 8. Put it this way, and you might win. Not that there's any prize for this. You get the glory. You get the glory.
Just the
of that.
prize.
He's gonna win enough this season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine. Right, let's have an update on Bletchley Scott. Now we mentioned last time out they were on a bit of a roll, won 3 in a row, but they were coming up against Tattenhall, who beat them 11-0 earlier in the season.
Ooh.
So how do we think they got on at the
I think
weekend?
they might have gone slightly better, but still got thrashed.
Yeah, you'd be right. They lost 5-0, which is quite good
Oh,
considering it was
improvement.
11-0. So they've
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
improved. But the weirdest thing is they've now got
Tightened up at the back there, haven't they?
They have. Yeah, they have. I think if you're getting hammered 11 and it goes 5,
Yeah.
and Tattenhall flying
Single
high
figures.
at the top. Yeah, I think it's good stuff.
Unless that
Um,
big lad for Tapno that's got a moustache and stuff, he was unavailable. He had to go to his grand's or something.
Yeah, he came. Yeah, or he went off at half time. But they're not playing again till the 1st of March. What's that all about?
Oh,
Wow.
So is this a second mid-season break, or it could be a cup competition? But according to the league website, the next game is the 1st of March. So rest up, Bletchley, instead of come on, Bletchley, and we'll see how you get on.
I heard a good story about Peter Shilton inspiring Plymouth when he was the manager of Plymouth,
yeah.
and Plymouth were in the Division 3 or whatever it was, and they were in the bottom 3 getting relegated, and Peter Shilton was appointed as manager. So he got the lads together and he said, come on lads, we can sort this out, we can get out, we can be like a pheasant from the flames. And then one of the team was brave enough to say, I think you mean Phoenix, boss. And he went, yeah, I knew it begun with F.
Brilliant. Oh, I love it.
I don't know whether they survived or not, but I'll have to check that one.
Oh, genius. Great stuff. Right, let's do one more thing, and then we'll wrap this podcast up for another week. So, did you used to read Shoot magazine or Match magazine, Jim, in your younger days?
I was Match over Shoot.
You were Match over Shoot. Well, do you remember the player profiles that you used to get in those magazines?
Yeah.
So they would. So essentially, it's quick fire. I'm gonna ask you some more random questions, but from the position of a fairly average 1980 shoot or match journalist. So random questions, and again, just the first thing that comes into your head. So, what subject did you hate most at school, and why?
Maths.
I think most people do. I don't know many people like maths, to be fair. How many O levels did you get? They're very interested in what people were doing at school. Or GCSEs.
I think he'll have been a GCSE man.
It was GCSEs. I think genuinely can't remember. But again, like my FPL, I was just sort of quite boring and average. So I think I probably got 8 or 9 or something. And I got an A in French because my mum speaks French and forced me to do it. I then took it on to A level, and it turns out the jump was unbelievably difficult. So I went from thinking I'm good at French to realizing I'm terrible at French. I actually failed it at A level. It was that difficult.
GCSE's French is like ordering at McDonald's, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what is your name? Je m'appelle James. Oh, well done, isn't it? My brother got A star a few years later, and he was terrible at French. I don't know who he bribed, but yeah.
Excellent. What, if anything, frightens you?
Having a bad FPL week.
That's pretty scary. What would you do if you could be invisible for a day?
Sleep. I'd love to just get some more sleep. That's probably not a great use of invisibility.
I love how you'd need to be invisible to do that as well. In a house full of kids, though, maybe that's the way it works.
Someone's always wants your attention or needs you at some point. Yeah, invisible. I would sleep. Oh, a whole day of sleep would be amazing.
If you were competing in Mastermind, what would your specialist subject be?
Crystal Palace players from 2001 to 2005.
Very precise. Good stuff. Who's your favorite cartoon character?
Oh, great shout. Well, when I was a kid, it was Danger Mouse. And I had a Danger Mouse cake made for my 5th or 6th birthday, which my mum was...
popular Danger Mouse, isn't it? If someone else said Danger Mouse,
it's real of its time. Like it was big. It was big and of its time. I think weirdly, I was a bit of a Penfold fan. I don't know why. But now it would 100% it would be Bandit from Bluey. Do you guys watch Bluey?
Oh yes, Bluey's amazing.
It is unreal. I mean, it is an adult show. It's an adult show that the kids can watch.
Yeah,
but it's just it's tugs at the heartstrings every time.
It's very well observed. It is genuinely hilarious.
It is.
I love the way that these two had like never heard of Bluey, and I would never be seen dead watching Bluey. But if you were ever forced to watch Bluey, you'd quite enjoy it.
Oh, I would recommend it.
I have heard of him, and I've been told it's really good. And I think he was also at York Races. Bluey was actually
not him; it's a girl.
It's a girl.
Everyone thinks Bluey is a boy, and it's a girl. That's the thing. Right. I
love that.
When my daughter was watching it, I was like,
Peter Shilton style.
Yeah, I was like, "What's he doing?" And she looked at me, and she was like, "Bluey's a girl." I've got that wrong. So yeah.
Oh man, but it is good.
Peppa Pig was at York Races a few years ago, and my mother-in-law was working there, and she said Peppa Pig had quite a few. Was a little bit tipsy by the end of the day's racing.
Peppa Pig.
I'm not saying Bluey. I'm not saying Bluey was the same state or anything, but
Bluey is from Australia, so it can probably handle her lager.
Yeah.
Peppa Pig are not in the same league as Bluey. Peppa Pig is little shit.
I mean, Daddy Pig would be able to cope with a few, I imagine.
A Daddy Pig can put it away. He can put it away.
He does. To be fair, where has this podcast gone to? I tell you. Last question is: it's the old favorite. What was the first car you bought, and how much did it cost?
Oh my god! The first car I bought was a VW Golf. Automatic, which was a terrible idea because it drained the petrol so much. And I bought it off one of my friend's dads from Edenbridge, and it probably cost me grand, maybe? No, maybe 500 quid. I can't remember. Not much. And within 3 weeks, I'd driven it into the back of a lorry. And that was the end of that.
Dan said that the other week. He killed his first car
Yeah.
and drove it into the
And
back
my
of a van.
friend's dad, was like in his 70s and had looked after it for donkey's years, and it was pride and joy. And I had it for less than a month and wrote it off.
There's a theme amongst FPL managers in this league. That's 2 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, thank you so much, Jim, for joining us this week on the pod. And we wish you good luck with. Well, I wish you good luck with the season because you're so far high. Just you finish first, and the rest of us can consider finishing second in the championship.
It needs a blip, doesn't it? It really needs a blip.
Yeah. I don't think the blip's coming though. His footballing knowledge is first class.
I've got no work in the diary in March, so I've got a lot of time to concentrate on FPL. So
yeah, it's game over in the championship. You'll definitely be joining the Premier League guys next season. But yeah, remember you can follow us on Twitter at SWYW_FPL. If you're watching this on YouTube, why not leave us a comment? We might even talk about it on next week's show, where we'll be joined by another top guest. But thanks again to Jersey Chris and to Steve. Enjoy your footballing week. Keep on singing and keep on winning. Goodbye.